everyone! I have some tips for you as you're entering into your time of revision, moving away from receiving feedback on the discussion board and towards revising your final literature review, which is due this Friday at midnight. I have read everyone's drafts and I wrote down recurring patterns, themes that I noticed that folks could work on. So I put them into this document for you. I'm just going to go over the notes that I have here verbally in this video for you. Feel free to watch on double speed or whatever you want to do as you are revising. So you need 9 sources. I've noticed that multiple literature reviews did not include 9 sources. That is in the prompt for the assignment, so it should be clear that you need 9. I know that there were only 6 sources required for the source matrix in our last unit. That was just to get you started. I wanted you to have 6 sources to get started. Then I asked in an assignment in this unit for folks to locate any gaps in their research, anything that they needed more support through finding more sources. Some folks just decided to say, nope, no gaps, don't need any more support, but the assignment still requires 9 sources. So find a few more sources if you need to. Everyone should review the slides on integrating sources. Almost every error that I saw could be solved by studying these slides a little bit more, so make sure that you do that. When you're using in-text citation, also known as parenthetical citation for your sources, this is how you are giving credit to those sources and preventing yourself from being accused of plagiarism. So make sure that you do that. You should not cite a source in your works cited page that is not actually referenced in the essay. So if you cite 9 sources on your works cited page, I should find 9 references to sources at least in the body of the essay. It's considered academic dishonesty to cite more sources than you actually use. When you're introducing sources, which is a good thing to do, by the author's name, tell us who those people are. Like, what are their credentials? If you introduce a study, research, a scientist, or a researcher, give information for the audience to understand what kind of study or research. If you aren't introducing your sources at all, but you're just citing them in text parenthetically, that is a problem. The point of the literature review is to talk about the credibility of the sources and to synthesize information from them. You should fully introduce your research and cite multiple sources per paragraph. So again, if you're just saying Jane Doe, so-and-so said, make sure that you're explaining who that person is, what kind of research they completed, what their credibility is, what field of study they're participating in. Give the audience enough information to understand your sources and where they're coming from. When you're using in-text citation and MLA, which is the Modern Language Association, we're using this style formatting guide because this is an English class. You never use the year. The APA style guide often suggests using the year. That is a style guide used by historians, for example. For our style guide, you're just using the page number. So it would be the author's last name and the page number. In-text citations go all the way at the end of the sentence, not right after the quote. If you mention an author by last name in the sentence, you do not have to include that last name in the in-text citation. So it would just be the page number in that case. Citation should just be the last name if needed and the page number. You don't need like P dot or a comma or anything like that. Again, all of this information can be found in those slides on integrating sources. Article titles, whenever you're introducing an article by its title, they go in quotes, not italics. So this would be, by quotes, I mean regular quotation marks, also known as double quotes for article titles. You're only going to use single quotation marks if you have a quote inside of a quote. Like say you are quoting your source and they are quoting another source. The quote from that other source would go in single quotations inside of your double quotations. Titles of articles should not be bolded. The first letters in titles, except for articles like the, should be capitalized. Even if the source is not capitalizing the title, you are following MLA format, so you need to capitalize the first letters in titles. Your works cited page title should be centered. It should say works, not work. Use hanging indentation to format your citations and put them in alphabetical order by the first word in the citation, which is usually the author's last name. Page numbers for your work go in the upper right-hand corner. The header should only be on the first page. The header should be double spaced. It should be your name, the professor's name, the class name, and the date. If you use words like you, we, our, us, or I, make sure you define who that is for the audience. So if you mean we Americans, or we the middle class, or I as a student, or us as American society, or you as a consumer, just make sure that you add those words, that you're defining specifically who you're talking about, because you might have an idea in your head of who the we is or the us is, but your audience might not understand that. Okay, and if you have any questions about this feedback, feel free to reach out via email. Thank you everyone for watching.